Greetings and new moon blessings, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kelsey, and today I'm going to guide you through a yin yoga practice that you can do along with or in honor of a new moon in Libra. So we can learn a lot from looking at what astrological sign the moon is transiting through during any of its phases. And if you chose to practice this class, I'm assuming that you are near or under a new moon in Libra. During the new moon, the time when the moon is dark or obscured, things are not totally clear and they're not as fleshed out as they are during a full moon. The new moon is considered the beginning stage of a new cycle. Some people interpret this as the beginning of a new idea, intention, or goal. So you might use your practice today to go inward and reflect on what your intention or goal might be for the next 4 weeks, the next moon cycle. And when the moon is passing through Libra, our focus might be more turned towards our close connections, our close relationships, as well as any area of our life or within those relationships that feels out of balance. And so with the new moon being a more introspective and meditative time period, I invite you to use this practice today to go inward and reflect on, again, any areas in your life or in your relationships that feel like there is dissonance, there's a lack of harmony, there's an imbalance. And then consider what intention you want to bring into this next moon cycle to create that sense of harmony. Speaking more so to our physical practice, Libra rules the kidney and the lower back area. So our yin yoga poses are going to really target that part of the body as well as energetically influence the kidney meridian line. For props, today I'm using 2 blocks in a bolster simply because I like to practice yin yoga with props. You don't necessarily need these for this practice. But because I have the luxury of props, I bring them to my mat and I invite you to do the same. So we're going to begin our practice today in a butterfly forward fold. I'll turn to the shorter edge of my mat, so that's a little bit easier for you to see. You're going to bring soles of your feet together, knees go apart from each other, and you want to allow your legs to be heavy. So if it feels like it's really difficult for you to let the legs soften and relax, it feels like you have to kind of muscle through this pose, this is where having props comes in handy. You would grab pillows or blocks and place them underneath your thighs or your knees. For me, this feels good, so determine the distance between your heels and your groin that feels good for you. And then we're just going to start to lean forward, hinging at the hips first, but then letting your shoulders round forward, let your head be heavy. You could have your hands out in front of you for support. You could bring blocks underneath your hands or your forearms instead. That's another great way to use the props. And then you're really just letting gravity pull you forward and then down towards your legs, towards your feet. Whenever you get to your edge in the pose, that place where you're feeling significant sensation, but you're not overwhelmed by what you're feeling, begin to soften, close your eyes, and deepen your breath, lengthen your inhales, and extend your exhales. With yin yoga practices, we will be in each pose for a minimum of 3 minutes. And again, the invitation during the moments of silence and stillness is to be investigating your internal world, considering what intention you could bring into this practice and bring into the next moon cycle that would bring a sense of harmony and balance in your relationships. And of course, remembering that that includes your relationship to yourself. All of our relationships begin with our relationship to ourselves. Just like how what we practice on the mat informs what we practice off of the mat, and vice versa. How we treat ourselves, how we feel about ourselves informs how we treat and feel about others, and vice versa. Take another breath in here and out. Next breath in, lift your head. Walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Press down. Use arm strength to help yourself roll back up to upright. Head over heart, heart over hips. Pausing. Whenever you arrive, just notice the way that your body feels after that deep, long forward bend. And then from here, we really don't have to move the legs too much. Basically, you can keep your right leg as it is, and then you're just going to internally rotate this left thigh so that the left heel is going back behind you. You have kind of like a big zigzag shape in the legs. I'm going to turn on my mat slightly so that the left shin becomes parallel to the longer edge of the mat, and my right shin is parallel to the shorter edge of my mat. And then you're really going to let this left hip roll back and down, bringing the hands behind you for a reclined deer pose. So this might be where you stop today. Also, if it feels like this is really intense and similar to the first pose, you can't soften here, narrowing the space between your legs will make this a little bit easier, will make this a little bit gentler on the knees and on the hips. And so you can be just leaning back onto the hands here. I'm just letting my arms support me. I'm not using any muscular effort here. Depending on where you're at in your body and how much space you have today, you might grab that bolster or pillow if you have one. Bring it behind your lower back, and then you'll be laying down onto that, leaning away from your left leg and away from the center line of your body. So you might find that you are kind of going off of your mat, and that's okay. Softening whenever you arrive at your edge. Once again, turning the awareness more inward, focusing on the quality of your breath and the quality of your awareness of your breath. So in these yin poses, there's sort of a multitasking going on. We want to stay focused. We want to remain calm. But then at the same time, there is room for exploration, to investigate emotions, thoughts, feelings. but really your priority is what is happening on your mat and not what is happening in the room next to you, in the world around you. Take another breath in. Exhale. Start to lift your head. If you were leaning back onto the bolster, press into your arms and your hands to raise away from the bolster. And then extend both of your legs out in front of you for a moment. You can lean back on the hands again. And then just alternate the bend of your knees a few times. You can tick-tock your toes or take the toes in circles, or even just bounce it out. Just kind of getting the energy flowing through that left hip and left knee again. And then we're doing that same pose on the opposite side. So I'm going to turn around so it's a little bit easier for you to see. This time I'm going to bring my left shin parallel to the short edge of my mat and my right shin parallel to the long edge of my mat. So again, a big zigzag shape, unless it feels better in your body, to bring the heels closer in towards you. And then starting by either leaning back onto the hands, this is a great place to be. Just leaning into the support of your arm bones, not using much or any muscular effort. Or you could take it all the way back onto a pillow or bolster, or even onto your back if that is available in your body. One more big breath in and exhale. Starting by lifting your head. If you're laying back onto a pillow or bolster, pressing into your arms and your hands to release. And then from here, we'll move right into a wide leg forward bend. So I'm going to move my bolster out of the way. Extending your legs out long in a wide V shape, going as wide as is comfortable for you. So it doesn't need to be as wide as what I'm doing here. Also, if you have pillows or a bolster or a blanket that you could fold up and place that underneath your hips, that's a really great way to support your body here, especially if it feels like all of the forward bend is coming from the upper back and it's just like you're right here. You want to have something under the hips to elevate them slightly so that the pelvis can rock forward a little bit, and then you can fold from the hips from there. Starting to walk your hands forward. And then another prop that's nice to use in a pose like this is the blocks. So I'm going to use them underneath my forearms to raise the earth up a little bit closer to me. And then I can lower them down further as my body invites me into a deeper fold. Just like in our first forward fold, you're letting your head be heavy, maybe supporting your head with your hands. The lower body is soft. Taking slow, deep, steady breaths. Last 2 breaths here. Let gravity be a little bit heavier for this last little bit of time. One more big breath in and out. And then let's use arm strength again to help us lift up, lifting your head, pressing into your props or into your floor, lifting head over heart and heart over hips, and then pausing whenever you get to upright. Just noticing the effect of that pose. And from here, we will give our legs and our hips a little bit of a break, getting a little bit more into the lower back and then into the upper back too, just a tad. So I'm moving my props out of the way. You can use your hands underneath your knees to help bend the knees back in, and then roll over onto one hip to come around to table for a transition. Once you're here, you might take a few rounds of gentle cat and cow, breathing in to lift your heart, lift your head, lift your sits bones, breathing out to round your spine, tuck your chin in. Just a couple more times with your breath. And then making your way back to a neutral table. Drop the elbows down, walk your knees back, lower your hips down to your mat. Elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Forearms are parallel, palms face down. So it's a supported back bend here, with the support being our arms, letting the stacking of your shoulders over the elbows keep you lifted here, but letting the shoulder blades come towards one another behind the heart space. And then you could let your head be heavy. If it feels better to you to let your head stay lifted, that's of course an option that you can take. I just like letting my head be heavy because it helps me turn inward more and gets a nice stretch into the back of my neck. But if that's too much pulling in the neck, you can keep your head lifted, or you could also place a block under your forehead. Soften through your glutes so there's no tension in the lower body. And there's really no need to press the floor away from you in the upper body. Our main focus here is the gentle compression through your lower back, and also the loading of the shoulder joints. Take one more breath in here. And as you exhale, fan your elbows out to the sides, stack your forearms or your hands, and then let your forehead rest down onto the mat or onto your stacked hands or arms. Feel the release in the back body and through the shoulders. And then from here, we're going to slide our hands back underneath the shoulders, press down to roll up, widen your knees apart, big toes touch, and we'll close our practice out in child's pose or tadpole, so the hips go back towards the heels. Extend your arms forward and rest your forehead down onto the mat. And if your forehead does not rest comfortably on the mat, you can always stack the forearms again and rest your head down there. More breath in your child's pose. Exhale with a sigh into your mat. Next breath in, lift your head. Walk your hands in towards you. Coming up to kneeling on the shins for a couple of breaths. Just like we do in our other poses, a brief pause to acknowledge the effect of the pose in your body. Fluttering your eyelids open, and then making your way onto your back for our final resting pose, Shavasana. So as you make your way down, if you do have props at your disposal today, I invite you to bring a bolster or pillow underneath your knees, extending the legs over that prop. And then if you have a blanket, you could bring it under your head. Or if you have an extra pillow, you could bring it under your head. I'm just going to let my head rest down on my mat today. And so because we focused a lot on the lower back in our practice, having something underneath your knees is a really nice way to allow your lower back and your pelvis to rest a little bit more neutrally. So if there's any discomfort there today and you don't have a prop, you can always keep the soles of your feet grounded, knees pointing to the ceiling for constructive rest. And then letting go of the more introspective, investigative part of our practice. Letting the mind quiet down completely. Allow your breath to be natural, no need to control it in any way now. And we'll rest here for just a little bit of time. I know it can be tempting to leave this part of practice out, but I really encourage you to stay here. We won't be here long. And just give yourself this time to integrate your practice. And you'll hear my voice when it's time to come back into this space. Enjoy your Shavasana. Remaining just as you are. Take a couple of deeper breaths now. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Move your body in a way that feels good to you. Maybe a big full body stretch, waking your body up again. And exhale to let it all go one more time. And as you feel ready, you can bring your knees into your body. Roll over onto one side. And then make your way back up into a comfortable seat. There's no hurry. I'll meet you there. Sitting up nice and tall whenever you do arrive. Closing your eyes again, just acknowledge the impact of this practice on you today. Reflect on any wisdom that came through to you as you practiced quieting your mind and letting your highest self or your heart or your spirit speak through. And take a moment to appreciate this time that you've had on your mat and all that fell into place so that you could be here today. With your intention in your mind, bring your hands in front of your heart, and we'll close our practice together with one chant of Om. Wherever you are with your breath, empty out your lungs, release the air. Take a breath in through your nose. Exhale to chant Om. As you're ready, you can flutter your eyelids open. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice today. Thank you for sharing your practice with me and allowing me to guide you. I hope that this practice served you well. Please let me know how it went for you in the comments down below, and also let me know what your intention was for this next moon cycle, for this new moon in Libra, if you feel called to, no pressure. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I put out new practices like this every single Sunday, and then sometimes an extra one in the middle of the week for special occasions or for fun. So I hope to see you again in a practice very soon, and until then, namaste.